Positive Anime Reviews is a review show that is designed for people who aren't very picky about their anime, like me. Most anime I watch ends up in my 5 out of 5 category. My reviews are for those people who are looking for a reason to watch anime rather than hate on it. I am willing to give any and all anime a chance before stating my opinion. Lastly, my reviews are all my opinion and might and or most likely won't match yours. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. Just be respectful in the comments section. Thank you. And as always, possible spoiler warning ahead. Hey guys, Darth Glork here, back with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about the Saga of Tanya the Evil, the movie. So, this is also known as Youjo Senki movie, I believe is how you would pronounce that. But you know, obviously that's the other name is the English name, the Saga of Tanya the Evil, but you know, the movie. Anyway, so before we get into that, I did check, and part 10 of Fallout 4 should be up. I muted the audio, I deleted the video, I re-uploaded it, and then I muted the audio in the second time around, and it worked. So the video got released. Here's the thing: is I put it in my dispute. They didn't get back to me fast enough, and I wanted it resolved because it was putting a big old hiccup in my recording plans, and so in my uploading schedule. So I'm like, all right, look, just knock it out, please. Just like, let's delete it, let's mute it, whatever has to happen, and I will never listen to Diamond City Radio again. So anyway, we got it sorted out. It should be up, and that's great news. Anyway, so hopping right into our review here. So of course we will be talking about, you know, this movie. Now this is a sequel to the you know, Saga of Tanya the Evil, the first season. This is a movie sequel, and it was a while ago that I watched the first season. But at the time this movie wasn't out yet, and it was a while coming. So it wasn't out at the time, and I was stoked for it, and I was really ready, and I was super excited, and we finally got to it, obviously, and so I am super happy. Now, obviously, because this aired on February 8th, 2019, so this year. So, you know, all things considered, it makes sense, because I think I watched the first season originally in 2018, I believe. Anyway, and so yeah, so I believe there is a dub. I think I saw a dub on the site that I was watching it on, and I think I saw a dub, but I didn't check it out because I don't really watch dubs. I watch sub, so I really couldn't tell you. But yeah, but there you have it. Now the source of this is a light novel, so you know, so there you go. But of course we will be hopping into the synopsis right away. So in 1926, Tanya and her battalion return home from defeating remnants of the Republic's army. However, when they arrive, they receive word of a massive mobilization near the border with the, I think it's like you would say Russi Foundation. Russi Foundation? Maybe it's Russi Foundation? Anyway, so the Empire's army must prepare. At the same time, a multinational army under the leadership of the Allied Kingdom moves into the Russi Federation. The enemy of an enemy is a friend, but among the Allied Kingdom army is Mary Sue, a girl who has sworn to exact justice against the Empire for the death of her father. So there you go. It was a really fascinating premise, you know. What was funny is at the end of the first season, when they set up to, like, you know, hey, the remnants of the Republic's army is alive and all this stuff, it was set up, and I guess I assumed that would be the premise of the next of the movie when they announced it, was that it was going to be like, you know, it would be them fighting, you know, and finishing off the Republic. But then it turns out that in the first, like, you know, 5 minutes of the movie, they win and they just crush the Republic, and that's it, they won. And so it's just you know, anyway, so that's it, and so that's what's surprising. And so then, but it wasn't any less fascinating. It wasn't any less fun. And that was great, you know, that it kept me entertained and interested the whole time. And there was a lot of moments where I was like, you know, I was super like, you know, paying attention. I was keeping a close eye because it was really good. So moving on to rating, which is how clean or dirty is the anime. This one is definitely an R rating, a mature rating, adult rating. There's a lot of violence, as you might imagine, in this anime, and sorry, I'm like, as usual, I'm congested in the morning. Anyway, but there was a lot of violence, as you might imagine, and so there was a lot of violence and death and bloodshed, so this is definitely a mature rating. This is not for the kids, you know, which, again, that probably surprises no one. So moving on to genre, obviously, if you would have seen the first season, you obviously have a pretty good idea of what the genre is, but it'll be magic and military, which is, it's all about battle and warfare and military, so, again, no surprise. So, as far as season length, again, this is kind of a weird special case because this is a movie, but obviously, it's just one movie. There's not really a season length. Now, so, at the end of the movie, it plays the ending song, but you have about 6 minutes or something to go. Now, some of those are the actual legit credits, and after those credits, there is nothing. But after they play the ending theme song of the normal show, there is 3 or 4 minutes, and that's where they set up for another season. And they do set up for another one, and I would give a kidney if they would make another season. So anyway, that's where they set up for another season. So I am super excited, and I would love for them to do another season. So anyway, so they are set up for another one, which is super exciting. And there is something after the theme song, but not after the legit black screen, white credits up and down. You get the idea. Nothing after that part. Anyway, so moving on to our character section. Again, if you saw the original, trilogy, then obviously you already know. You already have a pretty good idea of who the characters are and everything. Sorry, I'm choking to death. Okay, sorry, we are back. So, our character list, it'll be very, very short because there's quite a few supporting characters. There's not very many main characters. There is 2 main characters. And so we'll, of course, only be talking about the 2. So, our first main character, and of course the main alpha main character, if that's how you want to describe it, is of course Tanya Degurachov. Now, in the anime, in the movie, it gives her a Von in the middle, so it's Tanya Von Degurachov. So there you go. In this one, it doesn't give her the Von, so I don't know. I thought Tanya Von Degurachov sounded amazing, and so so I'm gonna roll with that. So it's Tanya Von Degurachov. Anyway, regardless, so she's of course the main character. Now she originally, if you would have if you watch the anime, first of all, if you haven't, please watch it. This movie will make so much less sense, and it'll all mean so much less to you. I'm not saying you'll hate it, because you might not anyway, but I would advise you to watch the original anime, so it sets everything up so you know the backstory, alright? So, that's what I would advise, and that's what I recommend. And anyway, so if you would have seen the anime, you know all these people already, but we'll do a brief synopsis. So basically, Tanya lived in normal Earth, I think in 2013. And she was a he, and he was a leader. He worked in HR or something. He was a high up manager basically in this big old corporate company. He fired this dude, and he was completely heartless, and no surprise there. And when he got off work that day, the dude he fired pushed him in front of a moving train. And right before he got hit by the train, there was a pause, and this being, who's like this super ultra powerful being, the being calls himself God. I personally don't really believe I don't really believe he is God. But anyway, he calls himself God. But regardless, Tanya is very, very anti-religion, and so she doesn't believe it even so. And I don't really believe he's a god. I believe he's a super powerful being that can stop time and stuff. But I don't really necessarily believe he's God. Anyway, and so Tanya gets and we don't know the dude's name, as is normal Earth name. So this guy, and he says some pretty. He gets pissed off, and he rips this being's face off. He refers to the being as being X or whatever, and so the being gets pissed that the dude is such a jerk, and he sends him to an alternate version of Earth, basically, but in World War I era. but it's also alternate because there's magic in this world. And anyway, and so then the story basically revolves around Tanya as he turns into a she, and she lives in this alternate Earth where there's magic and stuff, and she is incredibly powerful at magic. Anyway, and so she's no less heartless, but there's other things but that's basically it. So Tanya in personality, Tanya in personality is pretty brutal. She's for the most part pretty heartless. I mean, just exactly what you'd expect. This anime, the reason I like it is because most animes, they follow the hero, right? They follow the hero. You want to know who the hero is, and the hero always wins, and all this stuff. And and I always play as a bad guy character. I always play as a bad guy character. In any game I play that I have a choice, I almost always play as the villain character. The exceptions being Mass Effect and like Dragon Age. In Mass Effect and Dragon Age, I always play the good guy. But other than those games, for the most part, I always play villains, and I always find the villains far more fascinating. So the problem is, hang on, my back is killing me. Anyway, so the problem is, so that's the thing, is so few anime revolve around the villain. And of course, I am a big villain person, so, it's a thing. Anyway, but this anime is all about the villain. It follows the villain, and you're kind of rooting for the villain. And I feel like that it's not lost on anyone that Tanya is a villain, but at the same time, you're okay with that. At least I was. I was so excited to follow someone who was basically a villain. Anyway, so it's super, super cool that way. Now, something that I noticed in this movie is in this one, Tanya, rather than being, because in the anime she was super heartless. Like even to her own men, they were like she was really brutal on them and kind of expected them to like, I don't know. She kind of expected them to not want to sign up, and she didn't really want to do military. She was doing it to like save her own skin initially, but it kind of just evolved into all this other stuff. So anyway, sorry. Yeah, and so she was basically doing it to save her own skin. Now, in the anime, so all of her guys, they survive this crazy basic training that she puts them through, and they kind of turn into these like crazy hardened veterans, and they see countless battle, and they turn into like super just pros, and like they're so good. They're super skilled. They're super good, and in the anime, closer to the end, you could see that Tanya gets like more, at least it feels like to me, that she got more like attached to her men, and I loved that like attached, that like they're all super hardened, and she would more get pissed that they died or if anything happened to them, but these guys are like some of the best of the best, and Tanya gets like more attached than originally you might have assumed that she would, and I loved that. Now in this movie, it was dialed up a little more. That Tanya it felt like she was a little less heartless in a lot of ways. There was moments where several moments where she did things that were noticeably nicer than like maybe previously you would have assumed, and instead this girl Mary Sue, that's basically Tanya's nemesis throughout this anime, she kind of feels like the villain. Now it's interesting because this other her nemesis, this girl Mary Sue, she technically the movie tried to get you to care about her. It tried to get you to like be like, oh, that's so sad. And maybe I'm heartless, and that doesn't surprise me at all. But maybe I'm heartless, but I'm like, oh, shut up, Mary. No one cares about you, Mary. Like your father was a bad dude. You're bad. I hope Tanya kills you, but I'm happy Tanya killed your dad, and I hope she kills you too. Like, I get that I'm probably incredibly heartless, but I don't care. I was cheering for Tanya the whole time. Anyway, and so regardless, but in the movie, Tanya seems a little less heartless, a little more attached to her men in this one, and I'm okay with that. But once she got back into the zone of being like this heartless, ruthless, super skilled soldier, she kind of fell back into old ruts, and I liked that. But anyway, but that's basically Tanya in a nutshell. She's brutal. She's an incredibly smart tactician. She is a great soldier. Now, ultimately, her goal is to like save her own skin, but it always backfires, so that she has to enter combat like all the time, and I love that. Anyway, so that's basically her. So moving on to our next and last main character, we have Viktoriya. Now, Viktoriya has a super cool way of spelling her name. It's Viktoriya. That's so metal. That's so cool. Say Viktoriya, spelt with all these like I's and K's. It's awesome. Anyway, and now her middle name is crazy. It's Ivanovna. So maybe it's Viktoriya Ivanovna, and her last name is Serebryakova. Serebryakova. So I think her name is Viktoriya Ivanova Serebryakova. I think that's her full name. If I'm crushing that, I almost certainly am. I'm so sorry. I know her first name is Viktoriya. Anyway, so her name is amazing. And so she is, I think she's a lieutenant, but she serves in Tanya's unit, and she serves under her. Now, Viktoriya in personality, she's far different than like Tanya, and it's funny because she's a great soldier. That she does her job, and she obviously has killed countless people, and she's fought in countless battles, and she's seen some crazy hard warfare and bloodshed and all this stuff. But her and the camaraderie between Viktoriya and all of her fellow soldiers is super obvious and prominent, and even between Tanya and the fellow soldiers, and I love that. Anyway. But with Viktoriya specifically, it always surprises me because she's not like Tanya, where Tanya is like heartless and stuff. But Viktoriya she always follows orders to the letter, and she's always like super loyal to Tanya, or like, you know, her commanding officer. She's super loyal to Tanya despite everything that happens, and she's always worried about her, and she doesn't like wish harm on her, and she kind of takes care of her as much as she can in her own kind of subtle way, and I loved all of it. Now, the other thing that kind of surprises me is she's still, like, adorable. Like, she's obviously a soldier, and you don't doubt her like, prowess in battle, but she's still adorable. Like, you're like, she's so cute! Like, and it's just funny, because obviously she's a lot older than Tanya, not, like, old woman old, but she's not a child, and so it's just funny that, like, in a lot of, she's adorable, and I wouldn't call, like, maybe in some ways Tanya's adorable, but more she's like a hardened killer, and so no one's like surprised. Like, so it's you get reminded pretty quick that you're like, well, she's not too adorable because, you know, she's a crazy hardened killer. But then Viktoriya is just like so cute, and yeah, it's adorable. And I'll say this, that I ship Viktoriya and Tanya together so bad. Like, it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy how hard I ship them. Now, obviously, I don't expect anything to ever happen. I don't expect any kind of, like, official confirmation, but hope springs eternal, and I hope, believe you me, I'm hoping for it. But anyway, in personality, Viktoriya is a super caring individual. She cares about her soldiers, but she's not any less of a great soldier. And she's just someone you love. She's super easy to love and like, and I love her and I like her, so, you know, it's just that obvious. But that's basically our character section. There's a lot of supporting characters, but all of, like, even when it comes to Viktoriya and Tanya, all of the characters here, including the supporting characters, are all introduced and really talked about heavily in the anime. So in this movie, it assumes you would have seen the anime, which that should be true, because otherwise this whole thing's going to be so much more confusing. But anyway. But everyone else is supporting characters. It introduces them in the anime, so go watch it. And the movie is acting based on the fact that you know who they are, so it doesn't go deeply into explaining everything. And I was okay with that, because of course I've seen the anime and I loved it. So anyway, and that's basically it. So as far as favorite, most hated characters, this is like super obvious. I love Tanya and Viktoriya, and I hate Mary Sue. Like, it's no surprise. I hated Mary Sue a lot. I don't care. Her sob story means nothing to me, and all I wanted to do was have her die so she could stop attacking Tanya. And I wanted Viktoriya and Tanya to just take care of each other, and it was adorable, and I ship it, and I'm okay with that. Anyway, no surprise there. Anyway, as far as animation and music is concerned, the animation was on point, because as so many anime movies are, the production value was higher. They had a bigger budget. And so because of that, the battles specifically in this movie were dialed up to 11. Based on compared to the anime. Now again, there's nothing wrong with the anime. They didn't do anything wrong. It was great then too, but you can't help but notice that in the movie there's so much more, like, as far as the animation is concerned, and it was great. There was also a lot more battle in general in the movie than most of the movie was in combat, and again, I'm okay with that, but a lot of the movie was them in combat, whereas the anime, it was a little more of an even split. There was less battle, it felt like, but again, it didn't seem bad then either, so I'm okay with it. But as far as music is concerned, the music isn't really that special in this anime. No surprise. The opening song and closing song are cool, and they're fine. And they fit the anime totally fine, no big deal. But the music specifically wasn't like blowing your mind. You're like, this is crazy. Like, I don't remember being blown away by the music. But that's basically it. So, moving on to final rating and recommendation. So, before we get into the actual movie, quick fix here. I looked at my score. I gave the original season a 5 out of 5. That is such a mistake. I meant to give it a 6 out of 5, so that's awkward. And so I haven't rewatched the review, and I'm not gonna fix my old review. But in this one, I'm gonna say that should have been a 6 out of 5. So if you watch it, know that it's actually one of my favorites, and it's not a 5 out of 5. Anyway, so moving on into this movie's final rating, I'm gonna give this one a 6 out of 5. a 6 out of 5 as well. This anime is one of my favorites, and I love it, just like the first season should have been. So, you know, that's my bad. And recommendation, of course I recommend you go watch it. If you are a fan of, like, honestly, if you're a fan of wanting, like, more screen time for a villain, watch it. Do yourself a favor, watch it. If you're a fan of, like, military and action and warfare anime, which comparatively there aren't, like, too many, like, just war or animes about armies and militaries and stuff, and it's a pity that there aren't more that are this good, because I feel like I have a hard time finding any that compares to this. But anyway, this anime is a fantastic. It's fantastic, and it's so nice to see something about a villain for a change, because I play villains in everything. And so it's just super cool to be following a villain that you can genuinely like, even though they're evil, and I'm okay with that. So, if you're a fan of all that, watch it. If you are easily squeamish, you might want to pass it, or if you don't, or if you're a super, you know, Superman-esque Boy Scout, then you might not find this enjoyable at all. But for people like me, I loved it. And that's basically it, guys. That is the review. It's not too crazy long, but to be fair, we've already seen the anime, and a lot of everything that would have to be explained in more depth is in the anime. So, you know, not much to talk about there. But that's basically it. So, as far as other uploads for today, this is going to be the only video going out today. I have a prior obligation, no surprise there, and I actually have several prior obligations. So, you know, I'm stacked, and there's a lot going on. So, unfortunately, that's going to be all we have time for. Now, tomorrow, I was hoping I could, like, maybe squeeze a video out, but I learned that I have more obligations there in addition to school that also started. So, you know, I'm slammed this week, but I'm as far as I know, and I'm hoping that next week everything is back to normal. I just want to get back to my normal recording schedule, and that is the hope and the prayer. So next week, as far as I know, should be normal. This week was ridiculous with uploads, and for that I eternally apologize. I don't like missing uploads like this. It makes me kind of irritable, as people who know me probably know that I prefer to be recording. And anyway, so I'm sorry about that, y'all, but hopefully next week will be back to normal. And but otherwise, that's pretty much it. Anyway, that is going to call for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.